Welcome back everyone to New Riders Hub 2.0, brought to you by Yamaha. In this series, we're going to be covering dirt riding and all there is to know about riding in the dirt. In the previous episode, we covered all the different kinds of off-road bikes you can find. In this episode, we'll be talking about gear. Just like the bikes are super varied, the gear can be super varied too. And so Ryan is back with us this time around to cover the different kinds of gear you can find when riding in the dirt.
If you fall in the sand, it's not really a big deal. It's probably going to be a soft landing, but that's not the case when you get into more technical terrain, rocks, whatnot. It's really not a big deal if you're wearing the right gear, so that's kind of what we're going to go over today.
Yeah, for sure. I think being properly protected is everything, right?
Yeah, and I mean, there are a lot of nuances between, the street gear that you're usually wearing versus off-road gear. It needs to be more robust in different ways, and it also needs to ventilate because you're usually working a little harder when you're riding off-road. So yeah, let's get into it. So it should go without saying that protecting your head should be a high priority. Off-road helmets are going to differ from their street counterparts in a lot of different ways. They're designed to deal with rocks flying at you, dirt, sand, mud, whatever. And they're also designed to make sure that you can, if you're breathing heavy off-road, you're working harder. That's what these are all about.
Oh yeah, I have a feeling I'll be doing a lot of heavy panting and breathing.
You can kind of see in the overall shape of these helmets and what would make that more possible, right? You have an elongated chin bar, you've got the peak up here designed to keep debris and rocks from hitting you, block out the sun, kind of do a little bit of everything.
So out of curiosity, why can't I wear a street helmet in the dirt?
I mean, you could, but really these helmets are designed for ventilation, and when you're breathing heavy, you can kind of see in the way the helmet is shaped overall, you're going to get a lot more airflow through this. If you're working hard off-road, you want to be able to get a lot of breath in there. And I mean, we do have adventure helmets that are kind of bridge that gap between street and off-road, and that is more traditional. You have a face shield on that. So you could do it, but these are designed to do this task.
So we talked about helmets and obviously how important they are, but unlike a street helmet with a visor over your face, clearly a dirt helmet has a large opening right here. So what do we do about that?
So, I mean, again, we're going back to ventilation. It's all about ventilation. So goggles are definitely going to be the best option when you're riding off-road. Even a lot of times, guys that are like adventure bike riding, using those different kind of helmets that have the face shield, will opt to maybe push the face shield up and use goggles when they're riding off-road. You've got a lot to deal with in terms of dust, debris, all of that. So with goggles like the Fox View, you have an injection molded lens, and you can actually replace these, pop them in and out. We've got one of the tinted lenses here. They've actually got like a harder lens too for, super fast racing and whatnot. You also have options for tear-offs, which are basically pieces of plastic that go over the lens. If you're riding or racing in mud, you can pull those off. You've got ventilation with like a foam kind of filter to keep all the fine dust out, and then you've got this big wicking area because you're definitely going to be sweating, and this will keep the sweat from dripping into your eyes. So this is definitely the way you want to go. For me, always off-road goggles.
Okay, Ryan, we've got our head pretty well protected at this point, but what's to stop anything from impaling you all over your body and doing bad things?
Body armor. So what we've got here, you're gonna kind of run a huge range, and it really does kind of start at your shoulders, goes all the way down to basically the boots. I mean, even airbags these days.
We remember airbags, right?
So I guess, starting at the top to kick things off, you've got everything from full airbag jackets, armor jackets, to things more like this that are the race frame from Fox that is designed more to be like a roost guard, so it's more of a chest and back protection. And with this, you actually have the D3O, which you might see in some other street gear, you might have seen it in other off-road gear, but it's super lightweight and it's really flexible, so it's super comfortable. I mean,
for those not familiar with D3O, what does that mean? What is that stuff?
It's basically anytime you see this kind of, an orange label, or like these orange kind of flexible, pliable panels, It's basically designed to stay flexible when you need to move around and when it's warmed up and whatnot, but when you have an impact, basically at the molecular level, it hardens. So it's a super cool technology. A lot of different brands use it. Fox utilizes it in the race frame and the Titan gear here. So moving on from that, you've got elbow protection. Again, if you're getting like a full armored jacket, all that stuff is kind of in a chassis like baked in, but you can also kind of do it piecemeal like this. And so like moving down from there, you're gonna have things like the armor short here, which gives you a little extra thigh protection. It's just like these super low profile pads, and you get a little bit of padding like on the coccyx area on your tailbone. And then, as we continue to make our way down, you've got knee protection. And knee protection kind of comes in two different styles. So we've got things like knee armor, which is designed to be a little bit more low profile. It doesn't really lock your knee in at all, which we'll get into in the next product, but it is lightweight, easy to use. I would definitely suggest wearing a base layer under any of these things, because when you're working off-road, getting sweaty, probably gonna get a little chafed up. But if you want to move onto something more substantial, you've got something like a knee brace. And
that's like Bionic Man kind of stuff.
Exactly. And as you might expect with everything going on here, this is generally a lot more expensive to get into. We're talking like $700 to $800 with something like this. But this is designed so you get full knee protection and specifically from twisting. One thing that some off-road riders don't like is that because it isolates your knee so well, it can lead to breaking your lower leg bones. Right. So kind of got to decide what you like. I prefer knee braces. I wear them on adventure rides and off-road rides, but you know, it's kind of what you want to spend your money on. If you got the coin, if you're starting out, this is a totally viable option.
Cool.
So you're gonna wanna cover all of that body armor we were just talking about, and that's where jerseys and pants come in. When you're riding off-road, it kind of depends on what kind of riding you're doing, but like if you're doing something like motocross, you're gonna want something that's tight, gives you the most mobility that you can get, that also fits over your armor, of course. But when you're riding off-road, you want something that's maybe a little bit more abrasion resistant. Fox's 360 kit is just that. The jersey is super breathable, super thin, not something you'd wanna crash on the street in, obviously. Sure. But the pants are a little bit more robust than like the motocross stuff that's designed to just be super, you know, give you a ton of mobility. So you got a bit more abrasion resistance here and like ripstop material. So that's kind of what you're gonna want to fit over your knee braces or your knee guards, whatever it might be. And most manufacturers also do kind of a light mesh at the bottom where it goes into the boot, and it just, again, goes back to ventilation. You're trying to keep yourself cool.
Yeah, I mean, I look at both of these things and I'm like, I see so much more ventilation than I do on like street gear, for example.
For
so
sure.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I see over here we have our adventure helmet as well, and this whole series is intertwining dirt with adventure, jerseys, off-road. Yeah, so I don't think you can be wearing a jersey and pants when you're doing like a big adventure ride, right?
You know, it really depends on what kind of adventure ride you're doing, because I like to push myself on bikes like the Tenere. You know, it's a good size and whatnot, and plenty of people do some gnarly stuff on adventure bikes, and this is exactly the gear that you want to be wearing, because you're gonna get hot pushing a 460-pound machine off-road, you know. But if you're looking to do like actual adventure bike riding as like, you know, most people see it, that means a lot of pavement along with your trail riding. So you're gonna want gear that's just as versatile as your bike is built to be.
Which means what exactly?
Don't worry, baby bird, I'll feed you. So we've got stuff like this. This is Fox's adventure gear. It's a little bit more simple for just styling, but it's got a ton of versatility, and that's what adventure gear is all about. Basically, you've got D3O armor in the shoulders, elbows, and back, so you're not taking your armor off piecemeal. You wanted to stop for lunch or whatever, you just pull your jacket off and you just got your base layer, your t-shirt, whatever on underneath it. And then like, if you're checking it out, from the back, you've got huge vents, a lot of pockets, stuff that basically makes this kind of garment just as versatile and as you know, varied in its use cases as an adventure bike.
And I also see things like this super fabric here on the shoulders and the elbows. So what's all that about?
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly the same stuff that we see on street gear. You know, it's more common, I think, in off-road gear or adventure gear, but the super fabric is super abrasion resistant, and that's why it's in the key impact areas on the jacket.
And then, like, I'm looking at this jacket, and I'm thinking about how thin it is, and I'm thinking about previous, like, just street touring, sport touring gear I've seen with similar technologies about waterproofing and whatnot. And like those were so big and thick and had multiple layers and were kind of uncomfortable, but they kept you dry. How are they able to do that with this jacket that is so much thinner than those kinds of jackets in the past?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times manufacturers will do like a mating process for the outer with Gore-Tex laminate. So that's an option that keeps the jacket lighter, thinner, and also the D3O armor. Again, like it's super pliable, it keeps you comfortable, and it just adds to the overall thinness of a jacket like this. There are plenty of other adventure jackets out there, gear that has waterproof liners, quilted liners, all sorts of different stuff, more pockets that that you can lose your stuff in. But this is more of a simple design, but still has all the features that you need for adventure riding.
And then what about pants?
Basically the same deal. So it's basically the same construction. You've got pockets, you got ventilation, you've got super fabric in the impact areas for the abrasion resistance. You've also got the D3O armor in there. And then what you'll see on most like off-road pants or moto pants is you have these leather panels here, and that's designed to help you like grip the bike and help from like heat protection from the engine.
A lot of times too, it only makes sense that manufacturers will design the jacket and pant combination together, right?
Right. Yeah, and a lot of times they'll even go a step farther and they'll have like a zipper that connects the jacket to the pants. The thing is with adventure gear, especially ones that have a lot of liners, they also have a lot of adjustment. So if you pull all those liners out, you can cinch up the arms, you can cinch up the waistband, make sure that fits. You just get a very versatile garment with this stuff. But again, probably a little bit overkill if you're just riding a dirt bike.
Very cool, very cool. All right, Ryan, so we are most of the way there with covering my body for protection purposes. Last thing is just the extremities, my hands and feet.
That's right, let's talk about these digits.
That's right, gloves and boots. Let's start with gloves. We have some examples here. Walk us through what these are and what the differences are and why and when you would use them.
Right, for sure. So, I mean, basically, kind of going back to that first video where we covered all of the different kinds of bikes. You've got motocross bikes, race bikes, adventure bikes, all these different things. So it makes sense that you'd have some products that fit the different bill, right? So kind of starting off, this is going to be more for like motocross. So this is what you're going to wear on the YZ450F. When you're racing, you want that full dexterity. You want as much ventilation again as possible. Not a lot of abrasion resistance going on here. I mean, these are rip stops, so you do have that for snags and whatnot. But this is not something that you're going to really be wanting to wear like doing too much off-road if you think your hands are going to get hit by sticks, or if you're doing any street riding. These aren't really going to.
I mean, those are really thin.
They're really thin.
Really thin, really like. There's barely anything there.
Exactly. I mean, it's definitely more meant for motocross. Plenty of guys wear them off-road. I wear them off-road, honestly. But it's good to have a little bit more protection if you're going to be doing like a dual sport ride and certainly an adventure bike ride. So this is kind of where you get in between. So like if you're doing a dual sport ride, you're doing a little bit of street stuff, you're going to want more abrasion resistance. So this has a kind of a leather chassis with some other ventilation. It's perforated. You got some hard knuckle sliders. And that's going to give you, again, that like abrasion resistant on road if you happen to turf it,
Hopefully not.
Right. And then natural progression to adventure gear. More leather, hard protection, good ventilation. Again, we've got the super fabric that we saw in the adventure gear, the jacket and pants. But yeah, it's basically mimicking what we've already kind of discussed with the way the motorcycles break down for off-road.
I think it's kind of a big difference here with the palm. You can see on this one, you've got the super fabric on the palm, and you don't really have that on this like midway glove. For that, if you fall down and on the road and you're putting your hand out like that.
It's the first thing you're gonna do.
It's the first thing you're gonna do, and this helps protect your hand from getting really gnarled up.
Yeah, and I mean honestly, like the super fabric's really cool because it also helps with the abrasion resistance, but also lets you slide and doesn't heat up, which is obviously what kind of burns through stuff. You know that from the road racing leathers, unfortunately, right?
I've been burned from my leathers a few times. So that's, pretty much self-explanatory as far as gloves go. We're gonna veer now to boots, and we have two different kinds here. We'll start over here with moto boots. I mean, talk about like stormtrooper sort of stuff here. Like, what are we looking at?
I mean, obviously this is the closest thing to the ground, so you're gonna want a lot of protection. These off-road boots are completely different from what you get on-road. The race boots, that you have are designed to give you a lot of protection, but also a lot of mobility and be lightweight. These are designed to do that to an extent, but there's a lot more protection baked into these boots. I mean, if you feel it, you're probably talking like 8 pounds a boot. I mean, these are substantial. And honestly, for a new rider off-road, it can be a little bit daunting when you're trying to use the foot controls with a boot this stiff. And I mean, honestly, it's just something you get used to. Obviously, boots break in, but you just kind of got to get used to that feeling.
I mean, the few times I've worn moto boots on a motorcycle, that has been the biggest shock factor for me, was like, how do I can't feel the shifter, I can't feel the rear brake. Like, how do people ride a bike with these big clumpy boots on?
I mean, honestly, there is a good amount of just getting used to it. So most of what you're seeing here, the hard parts on the outside are going to be a TPU material. On the front here, the shin plate, the toe, all of that. There's also an internal polyurethane brace basically in the front of this, just to add to the overall rigidity. There's a lot of hard protection here. You've got like aluminum buckles. There's a lot going on here for sure in terms of protection, but in order to keep the things a little bit more mobile, and you do need to be able to move around. You need to know what's going on with your feet. So like they've got these hinge mechanisms which allow your ankle to move the way it should and not the way it shouldn't. Right. But also you get some extra Achilles protection back here. I've racked my Achilles on foot pegs before. It's not fun. So seeing a boot that has that protection back there it's a super good idea.
Yeah, that is the similarity I've seen with moto boots and then like road race boots, is the protection on the back here to keep your ankle moving in the direction it's supposed to and not hyperextending or preventing hyperflexion. Yeah. It's just moto boots just amp that to like
11.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and like the cool thing about moto boots also is that most of the time you can get a lot of different replacement parts because again, these things are closest to the ground, they're going through brush, whatever it might be. But you can get replacement buckles, you can get replacement soles, because on off-road bikes, typically the foot pegs are pretty gnarly and they can chew up the bottom of the sole depending on how much time you got. But also there's some stuff baked into it with there's kind of like a damping pad in the heel. So if you have like a hard impact, you've got that to get some extra protection. So it's not just plastic. There's a lot that goes into designing a boot like this.
Sure.
I mean, even on the inside, all of this paneling and this texture is to help you grip the bike. And it's something that's critical when you're, getting into some more serious off-road riding.
But I think just like everything else we've talked about so far in this series, there's more varieties than just this. And we go back to like adventure gear, right? And that's where a boot like this comes into play. Right. So let's talk about this.
Again, if you're gonna be riding an adventure bike like they were meant to be, you might be doing more time on the road, more time walking around town, and you're basically, it's a little bit of a trade-off. Obviously, this isn't gonna be as protective, but it is designed with like a lot of abrasion resistance, in mind, and then also,
this thing's still pretty stiff.
Totally, exactly. I mean, you still have a lot of protection baked into here. You've got a cup for the ankle, reinforced toe box. The thing's not really gonna move because you've got a shank reinforcing the bottom. So it's just a little bit of a trade-off to be able to, walk around town, not look like a stormtrooper like you were saying.
Right. All right, Ryan, all this talk about gear is making me thirsty, and I imagine when I'm out, riding and like sweating and hooting and hollering and swearing, I'll be thirsty again too. So what's the solution for that? Boom.
Got it right here.
Boom.
So hydration packs. Obviously, this isn't really so much about keeping you protected and whatnot, but staying hydrated is a big part
of important.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Camelback offers this big ol' hog, the Hog 20. But this is bigger than what you would wear for most normal off-road rides. This is something that I would wear if I'm going on like a multi-day dual sport ride, going point to point. Put some food in here, some clothes, toiletries, tools, maybe a tube. You know, you got a lot of storage in something like this. And then with most of the hydration packs that are around this size, you get like a 3-liter bladder. So being able to just reach down and grab the hydration tube for a quick sip on the trail is always a good idea. And they do make some hydration packs that are this big for storing everything, but then you also get other models that are really specifically focused on like hard enduro riding. Useway is a brand that makes some that they basically use elastic to keep it from moving around on your back. And they make some that are, you know, probably like this big, so much smaller than this, but it just kind of depends on your use case.
Just like with all the gear we've seen so far that come in different shapes and sizes, it's no different with hydration packs.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and with all of this stuff, there's also always a range. So like if you're new to riding, you don't have to get the most expensive thing, you know, get whatever you can afford. There are always different levels of boots, helmets, you know, whatever it might be. You got different size bags. There's a lot of versatility here. So you kind of just need to be honest with like what you plan on doing and then get out there, make sure you're protected, and then get on the trail, which is about what we're about to get into.
That's a good way of putting it back.
I think it's about time we hit the trails.
Absolutely.
We've got someone waiting out there to show you some tips and tricks because I'm no riding coach. I love riding off-road, big bikes, small bikes.
I don't want to learn from you anymore.
Yeah, and I don't want to deal with you as a student. So
we're going to go hit the trails. You should hit the like and subscribe button. See you in the next episode.